Hello, hello. Welcome to a brand new episode of Page 10. We are recording on the 29th of May 2023. Page 10 is the current affairs podcast on the All About Now YouTube channel and podcast feed from IVM Podcasts. My name is Abbas. I am going to be your host. Joining me is the regular panelist of this show, Meghnad from Delhi. Hi, Meghnad.
Hello, Abbas.
And joining us is a returning guest. He's been on this show before. Last time he was here, he spoke about some aviation related news, but today he has something different. Please welcome senior journalist Aditya Anand.
Hello.
Aditya very kindly told me कि मेरे नाम के आगे तुम senior नहीं लगाओगे तो भी चलेगा, but you've been doing journalism for 2 decades, so I think it's only fair. All right. So, in case you're watching Page 10 for the first time, this is, as I mentioned, the current affairs show of IVM Podcast. What we do is each week, each panelist brings a piece of news that happened in the past week. We do a little explainer and then we have a healthy discussion about it. Along with Page 10, you can also find two other shows on the All About Now podcast feed and YouTube channel. They are ELI 10, which is Explain Like I'm 10, hosted by Meghnad. And you can also catch How to Citizen, which is hosted by Meghnad and Shreyas Manohar. So before we get into the episode, Meghnad, anything you want to plug from those shows?
So, ELI 10, we are continuing our ideology series. We just released an episode on what is capitalism,
Yes, I was
and
on it as well.
Abbas was on it as well. And the entire episode is centered around Rakesh Jhunjhunwala,
Hmm.
one of the greatest capitalists of them all.
Hmm.
And we look at capitalism through his eyes. So we got the author of a book on Rakesh Jhunjhunwala, who essentially went through his entire life and sort of gave us
Hmm.
some insights into what Indian capitalism really is,
Yeah.
which is very fascinating. And How
Hmm.
to Citizen is over. So now we have the final episode out, and it was
Yep.
a deleted chapter which we did with Cyrus Brocha.
Hmm.
It was titled Understanding Advertising, and in
Hmm.
classic Cyrus Brocha style, he did not even let me continue with the introduction. Introduction मुझे 3 बार करना पड़ा because Cyrus had many things to say in the middle
Right.
again. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's the final chapter of this season which we
Yeah.
did, and now How to Citizen is all of you can go and binge all the episodes now,
Yes. Yeah.
all 9
In case you've
episodes.
been putting it off, you can binge season 1 and season 2 of How to
Yeah,
Citizen.
season 1 and season 2.
All right, cool. So let's start with you, Meghnad, for this particular episode. It was a very eventful weekend. Some pictures were playing repeatedly on our TV screens and our laptop screens and our phone screens. So please tell us what they were about. Take it away.
So my original love of my life, the Parliament, uh,
Yes.
now has a new avatar. There
Now
is a
has a
new
new address.
Parliament building.
Yes.
Yes, it is a new Parliament building. So I spent about 7 years in the circular building,
Hmm.
working there, and now we have a triangular building which is super fancy. I can't get access anymore. Very few journalists can actually now, so that
Yeah.
is something. But anyway, so the new parliament was inaugurated today. Today is the 29th.
Hmm.
Yesterday, 28th May, is when the whole ceremony, quote unquote, happened. Um, so everybody's been talking about two things. One is that Sengol thing, which
Yes.
Modi ji took the scepter in
Yeah.
and then exchanged the scepter, uski puja ki, then they went to Lok Sabha and or puja hui, and then something happened. And the
Hmm.
second thing is the opposition boycott.
Hmm.
So opposition was very upset that the president was not even invited for this, or
Hmm.
was not inaugurating this herself. So that is what is happening. So multiple parties, 19 parties, had boycotted the entire ceremony,
Hmm.
which means essentially that किसी को फर्क नहीं पड़ता, चल रहा है वो, right?
Yeah.
But so since everybody is talking about this, I do not want to talk about that because I feel
Okay.
like we have spoken about that enough. I mean,
Hmm.
सेंगोल कहाँ से आता है, क्या उसका हिस्ट्री है, एक्सेट्रा, वो सब बहुत बहुत थ्रेड बन गए उस पे.
Uh,
ऑल्सो ऑपोजिशन क्यों बॉयकॉट कर रहा है, फिर प्रेसिडेंट के सोर्सेज ने क्या बोला, उस पे भी बहुत थ्रेड्स है. सो यू कैन गो
uh-huh.
चेक इट आउट. I'm going to talk about something that is way more important, according to me, is what does this new parliament exactly mean for us
Okay.
and our democracy at large.
Hmm.
Now, let's start with whether we needed the new parliament also.
Mm, mm.
The old parliament, the circular building, was all said and done very old. It's a historic building, it's an architectural marvel, yada yada. It's a beautiful building. But it was also breaking down. Let's not
Mhm,
kid ourselves, right? You know,
mhm.
just to give you an example, Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, there was a point where if you looked up, there was a net, like a safety
Okay.
net,
Oh,
right? Because they were afraid that some rocks, like the
Might
tiles,
fall.
will
Yeah.
fall on people's
Mm.
heads, right? Plus, if you want to give another example, the desks that were there, they had dials on them.
Okay.
So because every speech is being translated in real time into multiple
Correct.
languages, so they
Mm,
can
mm,
switch the dial on their
mm.
very bad headphones. They would hear like screeching noises first, and then they would hear what is happening.
Right.
It was an old building. Let's just
Mm,
put it that way. They tried very
mm,
hard to modernize it. They added screens. They did all the things,
mm,
but there were space issues also.
mm,
Now, this is where the importance of the parliament comes in.
mm,
We have 543 members in the Lok Sabha right now. Right? I'm
mm.
specifically talking about Lok Sabha.
Right.
Do you know when was the last time this number was changed, Abbas? Or Anand, anyone?
Um, can I take a guess?
Yeah,
Uh, was it in 1979?
1976. Yes, I mean, close.
Okay.
Yeah, close. But the thing is, okay, so if you look at this number, 543 members, right?
Mhm,
What it meant back then was that if you divide the total population of India with this number, which is the
mhm,
total population was around 64 crore people average.
mm,
With the World Bank se liya ye data, right?
mm, mm,
If you divide that up, every MP on an average would represent 11 lakh people, right? Uh, then 50 years forward uh, is when our population is now 1.4 billion. So if
mm,
you divide the same number with the population, now our MPs represent 25 lakh people, right? So 15 lakh additional than the last
mm,
count, right? What happened in 1976 is that there was a freeze, a legal freeze put on changing this number. It's called delimitation. So in 1976, it was decided that until 2001, this number will remain static because there was a
mm,
lot of population change happening in India, etc. Right? 2001, same reason, lot of population change, migration happening, all the things. We are going to put another freeze till 2026. Now we are in 2023. So
mm,
essentially, for 50 years almost,
mm,
this number was frozen in place.
mm.
The new parliament has more capacity. That
Okay.
is what I was coming to. So
Mm,
the old parliament has a capacity of about 550 members in the Lok Sabha.
mhm,
We are already at 543.
mm,
So if you had to expand that, there is no space.
mm,
And there is a need to expand that because
mm,
this number from 50 years ago does not make sense anymore. The interesting thing, though, is that the way this will be done. Okay, so new parliament has a capacity of 888 members of parliament in the new Lok Sabha.
okay.
If you, this is a big thing that people are still talking about. Like you will see, like many articles about this, how this Lok Sabha is bigger, right?
Mhm,
So in the new parliament we will have more MPs coming in after this delimitation exercise. So again, in 2026 the freeze ends, which
mm,
means that the government can then start redrawing constitutional boundaries. They can
mm,
start dividing up existing boundaries to make them more manageable according to
mhm,
the average population that they want MPs to represent.
mhm.
I'm guessing 10 to 11 lakh is what they'll go by, which
Okay.
means the the seat increase will reflect the population that is in India and dispersed across the country,
Hmm,
right?
hmm,
Now think about it this way: more populous states which have like had a higher growth rate will
hmm,
get way more seats
hmm,
versus in the last 50 years the states that have managed to control their population more, right? Which means that already there is this criticism against how the states like Uttar Pradesh,
yeah.
they have a giant amount of seats, right?
Hmm,
Because they
hmm.
have a giant amount of population also, but
Right.
how they ultimately, if you win UP, you win the central elections, right?
Hmm.
Because of the number of seats. Now, what will happen is that the seats will get even bigger. Whereas on the other hand, Kerala, who has
Hmm.
managed to control their population over the last 50 years, their increase will be marginally more.
Right.
So now there is going to be like this massive shift of power dynamics
Hmm.
between more populous states and less populous states.
Hmm.
It's a strange sort of place we are in,
Mhm.
where it feels like states which were not able to control the population are being rewarded with more power.
Right.
But that is what democracy is. I mean, technically, right? I mean, like, that is what it is. To be honest, like, this whole delimitation freeze was a little ridiculous also,
Uh-huh.
which is like, if we would have done it like, let's say 25 years, so in 2001, if this freeze would have not happened and we would have
Mhm.
increased the seats, and now we were
Hmm.
doing it again, then
Hmm.
it would have given a better representative. It wouldn't be that much of a shock.
Hmm.
Now, in 2026, there are a few things that will happen.
Hmm.
So how will this delimitation be done? It will be
Hmm.
done based on the census. The
Okay.
last census, so delimitation ends in 2026. The
Hmm.
census that happens after that
Hmm.
is what will decide the redrawing of boundaries.
Okay. Which
The
which is
in
which will be which year?
So that's where it's a little tricky.
Okay. Okay.
Technically, it's supposed to be 2031, because technically there was supposed to be a census done in
2021.
2021.
Yeah. Yeah.
नहीं
Didn't
हुआ.
happen.
Yeah.
Nahi hua. The pandemic sort of cancelled the census,
Hmm.
right? And since
Hmm.
then, I actually looked for a while to see if there is anything that the government has said about when the next census will happen. There is literally no word. They
Hmm.
keep talking about, oh, ye form mein hum ye add kar rahe hain, this will be new in the census, but there is
Yeah.
literally no date given on when this process will start, when it will end, and when we will get the data.
And they want to
So
have a digital census, right? This time.
yes.
Yeah.
So they are going to make the infrastructure better, data collection better, and they're going to add some real time elements to it also, apparently. Again, based on all the reports that I'm hearing,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm. Hmm.
So the census will be done in a better way. There is no doubt about it. When will it be done is the question. So
So Meghnad,
if
if it's assuming it's going to happen in 2031, what will happen between 2026 and 2031?
So my theory
Hmm.
is that there is nothing stopping the government from doing the census in 2026.
Okay.
Again, there is no
Hmm.
rule, right?
Hmm.
It's all
Right.
protocol,
Hmm.
right? It was all a decadal protocol that
Hmm.
the government was following, right? I was
Hmm.
trying to look for legal, like precedences of when this happens.
Yeah.
Technically, even if there is a law, they can
Hmm.
change it
Hmm.
immediately, right?
Hmm.
So 2026, there is a chance that both these things might happen simultaneously, which is census will start, delimitation freeze will end, they will redraw the boundaries, the capacity of the parliament increases according to
Hmm.
the new census whenever the results come out.
Hmm.
Again, that's my theory. Might happen, might not happen. Otherwise, in 2031 is when the census will happen, and then the delimitation will happen.
Okay.
I mean, that what happens in the middle is we stick with this number, which is
Right. 543.
543,
Hmm.
right? And
Hmm.
the parliament looks half empty. If you look
Hmm.
at the large parliament right now, and if you look at the top view, you can't fill the number
Yeah.
of people in it.
Yeah.
The parliamentary affairs minister said that now you can fit the entire Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha in one hall, which is
Hmm.
the Lok
Hmm.
Sabha. So अभी जो function हुआ था उसमें everybody was sitting in that hall, so it looked full. But when the
Hmm.
session actually happens, you'll see lots of empty space
Right.
everywhere, right? Which
Hmm.
is basically expanded parliament. So that is what we are waiting for.
Hmm.
Yeah, so there's another small thing that I wanted to say after this is this government has been talking about another thing called simultaneous elections.
Right.
Simultaneous elections are when the state government and all state governments and the central election will happen at the same time. That
Hmm.
is the only time that happened was when the first election happened,
Yeah.
right? Because after that, many state assemblies fell.
Hmm.
The cycle was completely reset, right?
Hmm.
Now we are in a situation where we have elections every 6 months because state elections are happening,
Correct.
and
Hmm.
every 5 years there is a central election.
State election. Yeah.
This government
Central
wants
election.
all these elections to happen at the same time. uh,
Hmm.
they've given many reasons: cost saving, being the major reason apparently. What I think might happen is 26 is a great time to do this. It's a perfect storm. I love it. It's like three events coming together, right? Delimitation ends, census happens, they do the entire exercise, new elections, but now we can do simultaneous elections because the entire boundaries are being redrawn. So then I feel
But
like,
wouldn't the state governments have to be okay with it? I mean, let's say if some state government is a year into their existence, why would they want
yeah.
to have
So for
elections?
that, I will refer you to this entire exercise done by Niti Aayog. Yes,
Okay.
they do things.
Right.
Niti Aayog has done an entire calendar, a potential calendar of how many. So what they will end up doing is they will pick a time when
Hmm.
assemblies which are supposed to expire a
Hmm.
few months later,
Yeah.
their term will be expanded
Okay.
to continue the government till the date of simultaneous
Right.
elections. Some which have had like a year or two left,
Hmm.
their terms will be cut short to match with the simultaneous elections. So there's like a very complicated table that they have made, right?
Hmm.
The idea here though is that they want to do simultaneous elections now, but it won't remain that way because
Hmm.
there's no way we can
Hmm.
say that all state assemblies will remain in
Will
power for
remain
5 years.
correct. Yeah.
कुछ ना कुछ होता रहेगा.
Of course.
But then it will be reset again. But
Hmm.
this is the big reset that
Hmm.
they've been talking about for years. The first
Hmm.
mention was in 2015 in the president's speech, and since then
Okay.
I think for 6 years the president has mentioned it. Just that they have never done anything about it, but
Hmm.
it is still a thing that they talk about. So
Right.
perfect storm for three things. That is what
Hmm.
I think is going to happen. That is why I think the new parliament is worth talking about.
Okay. Hmm. There's too many things to talk about.
Yeah.
Aditya, do you have any take on the new parliament building? Anything that comes to your mind?
Well, yeah, I mean it's huge, like Meghnad said, and I was always wondering why they have so many seats, and he's just put that
Hmm.
beautifully. But one journalist who was there yesterday told me that they have increased the number of seats for journalists there, but I don't know how they'll fill it
Yeah. So
because
I'll tell
journalists
you.
are getting lesser
Hmm.
by the day, no? So I
That's
हाँ
also true.
वही पता नहीं कौन बैठेगा वहाँ पे, but yeah,
So there are
anyway.
two things यहाँ पे. One is in the old parliament there were like press galleries
हाँ.
where journalists could go. And then you might have gone as well. Maybe I have been there multiple times. Now because of the expanded parliament, there are more press galleries, right? But during the pandemic, the Lok Sabha Secretariat put extreme restrictions on journalists entering parliament, and those restrictions still remain. So, like if you want to enter the parliament, there is like a lottery system, I believe now, where
Mhm.
your name is taken out from a raffle and your channel's name, and then you can go in. That's the last I heard about it. And I was like, okay. So some
Crazy, yeah.
journalists told me that that is the still the situation. The secretariat, when I called them, is like, nahi nahi abhi to access hai sabko. So it's a little unclear what is happening, right? But clearly the press trust also put out like a press release, I think on
Hmm.
the day of the parliament inauguration, yesterday,
Hmm.
day
Hmm.
before
Hmm.
sometime, where
Hmm.
they pointed out that, listen, you're inaugurating the new parliament, so please reconsider the restrictions that you have put on journalists, and please let us in and to
Hmm.
cover this whole thing. um Another fascinating thing that will happen with this is I feel like the video will look better. So the live stream might be
Mm.
better because the old parliament, there were a few cameras idhar udhar, but
Hmm.
they were very badly operated and very bad quality also. New parliament, let's hope we have like a clearer HD 4K views of yeah.
Now you
Sorry,
can hear
third
the.
thing.
Ha,
Third
go
thing,
ahead.
I got excited. Third thing, the protest area where disruptions happen has been drastically reduced now.
Of
Oh,
So
the
course.
like
well,
there
yeah.
is less space. The well is very small. So like अब पता नहीं कहाँ पे protest करेंगे, but
I mean,
there are many
ha.
empty seats. So
Meghnad, what happens to the old building, the old parliament building?
it's going to be turned into a museum of some sort,
Okay.
parliament museum.
Hmm.
So now you can go like and
Yeah.
see how glorious that building was. It was a beautiful building, man. I loved that place. I'm so nostalgic about it. Me and my MP used to. So there is a outer, like a ring, right,
Hmm.
where you could and then there's an inner ring,
Hmm.
and there are like houses everywhere.
Hmm.
So for preparing for speeches, me and my MP would take like ring walks around to discussing the speeches, because that is the only place where we got internet.
Hmm.
Because अंदर blocker लगे हुए थे. So it was fun. Yeah.
From whatever I've seen, it looks a lot like the UN building, like the UN when they give the speeches.
Hmm.
Uh, the, the the background and everything, it seems very similar to that.
The
Yeah,
inside of it, right?
inside
Like,
of
Yeah,
it. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah. I
Is there
also
a theme?
noticed
Wait, is there a theme
some
that they followed?
peacock, right? I don't know.
Yeah,
Like this
peacock.
a
Peacock, I
peacock
heard.
theme.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
peacock is the theme apparently.
Peacock for the Lok Sabha and okay, so peacock for the Lok Sabha and lotus for the Rajya Sabha is what my producer tells me.
Lotus for the
Yes,
Rajya Sabha.
I
It's
mean
not red,
goes without saying, right?
of
Yeah,
course.
it's the national
Wow,
flower after all.
national flower. Yeah.
Yeah. The just a word about the parties who have opposed the inauguration. Uh, but they still will have to show up when the session starts, right? It's not like they're completely boycotting the parliament.
Yeah.
Yeah. There is something to be said about how productive the parliament is here
Mm,
at this point of time,
mm,
right? Last session we saw was a complete washout
yeah.
because of disruptions. Before that, also, it was a complete washout.
Mm,
Uh, the government refuses to talk about issues that the opposition wants to talk about, which
mm,
is like the Adani scandal
mm,
or the China incursion or the Rafale deal. There are
mm,
many examples of what the government will allow the parliament to discuss and what it
mm,
will not. The
mm,
reason is that they are completely dominating every aspect of the parliament right now,
yeah.
right? Because of numbers, of course.
Mm, mm,
Um, so just to give you an idea, in the beginning, in 1950s, the average working days per year of the parliament was 121 days.
mm,
Can you guess how much it is now? Working
mm,
days session. Just guess.
mm.
Wild.
90?
70.
Okay, close,
Aditya Singh.
Anand. 63 days.
Ooh,
So
almost half.
that's yeah, so it's drastically reducing now. The number of sittings that happen is reducing, and
Mm,
disruptions are common, right?
mm,
So there is an argument to be made of what this parliament is and
mm,
whether it functions at all as an institution anymore.
mm,
Laws are not even discussed. Budget was passed without discussing
mm.
the entire budget. Then there were many laws that were passed, like Aadhaar. There were laws like the abrogation of
Yeah,
370
370.
uh,
Yeah. Even the
in
farm laws.
Kashmir, farm laws,
Yeah, yeah.
labor laws, many things that have happened legally. The
Mm,
parliament has just passed them. Again, there's
mm.
nobody stopping them because the
Right.
speaker is the final word there. She
Correct.
can't be dragged to the
Yeah.
court also.
Mm.
But yeah, so that's what is happening.
Okay.
And this parliament did not have a deputy speaker. I mean,
Oh yeah,
in his last,
1600 days
yeah,
now.
yeah.
Yeah. Legally they're supposed to have a deputy speaker, like at the earliest possible.
Hmm.
Last
Mm.
time there was a delay was 3 months. Now it's more than 2.5 years, like, I mean, since the last election happened. 3 years now.
Three. Yeah. I
four
mean, we just
years
one year to go, right? Yeah. Next
Yeah,
May
with
we
one
should
year to
be.
go. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, like, I mean, there has not been a deputy speaker basically.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just two last things, Meghnad. So, just coming back to the 2026
Hmm.
scenario that you painted, will you said that the states with more population will get more representation. So then, are we looking at a more north versus south divide, considering the southern states have sort of controlled their population and they will see less representation? And again, India's the parliament will be very North Indian centric
Hmm, hmm.
when it comes to.
I mean, that's the reality, sir. I mean, unfortunately, that is a reality pretty much everywhere if you look at it.
Hmm. Hmm.
Media dominated in Noida,
Hmm.
Delhi media, right?
Hmm.
Delhi media. Parliament dominated by North Indians. I mean,
Right.
obviously, number wise, सबसे ज़्यादा population, all the
Yeah.
jazz. Um, Agenda, like languages,
Hmm.
domination comes from North India, right?
Mhm.
Like the whole Hindi is a national language sort of
Mm,
a
mm,
thing.
mm, mm.
So it is all flowing from here where I'm sitting
Yeah.
right now
Yeah. Yeah.
towards you guys and
Yeah.
souther.
Mm,
But just to like answer the question, yes, there has been a divide and there will be a divide.
mm,
um, One small example I'll give is GST.
mm.
During the GST passage, when the GST was actually passed, that was the one of the rare times when the bill was actually discussed for ages and debates with etc. Tamil Nadu was opposing it big time because it was a producing state
Mm,
versus a consuming state,
mm,
and GST is more favorable towards consuming states, right?
mm.
So during that time, I remember, like, I think it was AIDMK who was trying to gather like the southern states into like a coalition to sort of oppose the
Oppose it. Yeah.
existing things
Mm,
about GST. Didn't
mhm,
work out because of
mm.
numbers, because of
Got it.
purely because of numbers.
Mm, mhm.
So that has always been an advantage, disadvantage for the south,
Disadvantage. Yeah.
advantage for the north.
Yeah.
um yes, it will get worse. I feel
Okay.
like that is a big thing that we really need to talk about right now. I feel
Mm,
like there needs to be discussions had about this,
mm, mm,
because I genuinely feel that proportional representation is something that we need to really consider now,
mm,
because it does feel unfair that you're a state who has managed to increase the human development index, where it also includes producing less children,
mm.
and controlling the population so that there is no burden on the infrastructure,
Right.
but you are actually getting punished for it
Mm.
where you're not getting enough power in the parliament, in the central
Yeah.
parliament.
Correct.
So either that, or we need to talk about devolution, which is giving more power to the states, and that,
Right.
my friends, is is
Uh,
a bit of an ask.
any word about the fact that these visuals of the inauguration were played against the protests that were happening outside, the wrestlers' protest, and I mean,
Oh,
gold
that's,
medalists being dragged away, and those visuals were quite stark and contrasting to
yeah.
each other. Yeah,
Ravish Kumar did a video on this. I saw, and it's very unfortunate, right? And the
mhm.
thing is that the person who is accused was a part of this
Was
ceremony
part of the
also.
ceremony. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Brij Bhushan was there
I
in
mean,
the
there is,
parliament.
yeah, there is this photo I saw side by side where Brij Bhushan is under the banner which says Satyamev Jayate, and alongside the
Yeah,
wrestlers are being dragged away. So yeah.
yeah. And the oh, another thing happened though with the protest. Like, now that we are talking about it,
Hmm.
there was a photo doing the rounds, which was so
Hmm.
creepy, about both of them smiling, sitting in the buses in the police van.
Hmm.
The Fogat sisters, they were smiling, right, and taking a selfie.
Hmm.
Turns out it was an AI generated image,
Hmm.
Yeah.
and it was being circulated कि अरे इसके बारे में बात करना, ये देखना, ये हंस. But actually they were looking very sad in the picture,
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
someone did an entire video on how you can make sad faces into smiling faces using AI.
Wow.
uh, it's actually a sign of what is to come in 2024. It's scary. We are here in this place where nothing is
Meghnad,
true anymore.
as long as you were scaring us about 2026, I was like, huh, that's still far away. Now you're scaring us about 2024.
Yeah. The goalpost just shifted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, Aditya, anything you want to say about the protests that happened? I mean, which were brought to the parliament building?
Yeah, I mean, it's so sad. I mean, they it's just they're not able to uh, deal with it.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, how
Hmm.
can that guy just I mean, and he's in parliament, he gets an invite. The president of India doesn't get an invite, and
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
have this guy
Yes.
who's been accused of something so serious,
Hmm.
Hmm.
and he gets to be there.
Hmm.
um, I don't know. I mean, where is the seriousness to deal with them? And who are these protesters? They are not like you can't deal with them the same way that you dealt with the farmer, right? Farmer to theek hai, kaun puchne wala hai type of a thing.
Hmm.
Here,
Hmm.
these are people who have brought
Glory.
glory to our country, yeah.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
yeah, and what are we doing? Yeah, we are doing AI generated photography of their,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
trying to just kind of shift away
Defame them.
from, yeah, defame them, and just take the story in another direction without
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. It definitely suits somebody, right? And
Yeah.
it suits those very people who are going to occupy that new parliament building. So, well,
Yeah.
Okay. Very starkly put by Aditya.
it's
But
disappointing. So,
we'll be looking forward to the HD footage in the new parliament and
yeah,
how it
AI
affects.
matlab AI powered HD whatever. Right?
Yeah.
All right, we'll take a short break at this point. When we come back, we'll hear the stories that Aditya has and I have. We'll see you on the other side of this break. Hey, it's been another great week on the IVM Podcast Network. On Cyrus Says, Cyrus speaks to one of our most celebrated fashion photographers, Atul Kasbekar. He spoke about the time when Cyrus hosted the Kingfisher calendar shoot, how Atul's favorite football team Arsenal has always won when he has watched the match live, his debut as a film producer, and a lot more. On the Habit Coach podcast, Ashton shares how one can set goals and achieve them with simple, actionable habits. On Has It Aged Well, myself Abbas and my co-host Urjita are joined by comedian Siddharth Shetty to discuss the most memed Rajpal Yadav film Chup Chup Ke from 2006. We discuss why Bollywood doesn't make madcap comedies anymore and a lot more. On Postcards from Nowhere, Utsav takes us through the stories of the Lord Buddha and how verses from the Arthashastra compare to modern times. And on Pop Rap, Snehil and Antariksh's guest is the very first Indian Idol Abhijit Sawant. They spoke about his life during the reality show and what he's been up to since then. Once again, don't forget to visit our merch store on ivmpodcasts.com. We have some exciting stuff for you. Follow us on social media via IVM Podcasts on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. If you like our shows, please spread the word, tell your friends, and don't forget to rate and review them wherever you're listening. You'll also find all our shows on youtube.com/IVM Podcasts. And finally, we would like to thank our sponsors this week, Cash Free Payments and HDFC Mutual Fund. Thank you for making this possible. And we're back on page 10 with Meghnad and Aditya. In case you're watching us on YouTube, please press the like button, hit the subscribe button as well, and subscribe to the channel. Press the bell icon so that you are aware of whenever a new episode drops. All right, let's move on to Aditya. What do you have for us, Aditya, today? Please take it away.
Hi. Well, I am going to discuss something that uh, actually I hated as a kid, which is exams. And
Okay.
we're going to talk about the UPSC exams.
Mm,
Uh, Simply because it's I mean, it's they say it's the mother of exams, or
Mm,
the
mm,
toughest exam in the world,
mm,
and we have like some 10 lakh aspirants a year, of which just some 0.12% actually crack it.
mhm.
uh, so then there's so much about it, that why is it why is it so sought after?
And
Yeah.
the results for the UPSC just came out
Yes,
recently, right? Yeah.
those results came out last week, and then
Mhm,
this isn't like an ongoing process.
mhm,
People. You look at the stories around there. There's somebody who was working, had a really good job in EY, and she's quit her job, and and she put all her time, effort, and energy in preparing for the UPSC, and she to cracked it.
mm.
And then you see there are some other really inspiring stories of children of farmers, etc. They've made it. But on the other hand, you also have uh, uh, you know you also have a lot of problems in the entire system. Like there are these stories of these two girls and two boys, and both of them have the same name and the same number, and they have gotten they've gotten calls. So it's it's very,
As in, they got the same roll number?
yeah, they got the same roll number.
Okay, so what
Yeah.
happens to the mark sheet? Did they both get to give the exam?
Yeah, they've got the same grades.
Okay,
Yeah. And this is not
right.
one. These are like two people. So
Yeah.
basically four individuals.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
okay.
So
That's weird.
yeah. Yeah, it's quite crazy. But then why so the question is, why is there this craze to still go for UPSC? I
Hmm.
mean, it's always been there, right? I've been hearing it forever. I'm sure you guys have also. I don't know, मैं तो कभी मतलब मैं मेरे दूसरे एग्जाम ही नहीं दे पा रहा था, तो ये इसके बारे में मैंने कभी honestly सोचा नहीं. But yeah, so I don't know. But yeah, so the thing is, why? I mean, is it because there's some sort of job security? I don't know. But
It's civil services, right? So
civil services, yeah. I mean,
essentially, I
you're
remember when uh, my mother, when I was a kid, she was saying कि नेता बदलते रहते हैं but civil
yeah,
servants नहीं बदलते हैं. Like
yeah.
she was telling me this because there used to be an Indian adaptation of Yes Minister called G Mantri Ji,
Okay.
where there was a civil servant. Farooq Sheikh used to play the
Oh
Mantri,
yeah, 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 yeah. I
and the
remember.
civil
Yeah.
servant used to tell him literally everything. कि सर यहाँ पे
Hmm.
आप ये बोलिए इससे ये effect पड़ेगा. And I think once asked that who's this guy who's telling the minister everything, and
Hmm.
that's when she told me कि ये
Hmm.
मंत्री बदलते रहते हैं but the civil servant remains.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
yeah, that's when I realized, oh okay, so that's the importance of the UPSC exam.
I will tell
Yeah.
you what is the reason.
Yeah.
Article 311 of the Constitution. It is a law which says that civil servants cannot be fired legally.
Hmm.
So civil servants literally cannot be fired unless
Hmm.
they have like a. It's proven in court that they have committed a crime. What
Hmm.
this means is that it is the safest job that you can get across the board, right?
Yeah.
Right.
वो तो दिखता है. वो
Uh,
that's after you get the job. But from the your exam
Hmm.
to you getting that job,
Hmm.
that uh, that pressure. I mean, there are like these 10 lakh kids a year who just doing nothing else but preparing for that. And then you know how many of them are actually make it to that interview round? Some
Hmm.
thousand.
But
Hmm.
that's the thing, no, Anand. Like, I mean, there is an entire area here called Karol Bagh, which
Hmm.
is like basically again these 10 lakh people are probably all there,
Right.
and they are studying. Like, there are many tuition classes, there are like preparation classes, all the things happen there.
Yeah.
But one thing you have to also realize that whoever, like whichever IS officers, IPS officers I've met, and I have met some people who come from very humble backgrounds. Their
Absolutely.
entire life just drastically changed overnight, right?
Hmm.
Because of this one exam, because of getting into the service, right?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Their value in the marriage market goes up
Hmm.
for obvious reasons, stable job.
Yeah.
And the second is they get a lot of facilities from the government after that. Three, it is a direct way out of the out of poverty for a lot of families.
Right.
So then there, like, some bust their asses doing this for that very reason, right? And I understand where you're coming from, where the recruitment is so less every
Hmm.
year,
Hmm.
that why are these 10 lakh people doing it? But it's like, it's like kaun banega crorepati also. Like,
Yeah.
the amount of people that still try for kaun banega crorepati for decades is nuts, and the people who make it is very less. But
Hmm.
Yeah.
that's what it is. I mean, it is an aspirational job, plus you have power. So you have to understand also that bureaucrats are I mean, they're permanent, right? Like,
Right.
मोदी जी आएंगे जाएंगे, राहुल
Yeah.
Hmm.
गांधी आएगा जाएगा,
Yeah.
Hmm.
bureaucrats remain the same, right?
Hmm.
They are there.
Yeah.
Like, people who were serving Atal Bihari are still in government with
Right.
Modi ji, right? Like, Manmohan Singh के टाइम पे थे, now first term में थे, now second term में, 20 years, right? Bureaucrats are still the same. So you have to realize they are the real government, they are the real people who are making, like Farooq Sheikh from that show.
The show,
They are
yeah.
literally the people telling
Hmm.
politicians what to do,
Hmm.
because politicians know jack most of the time, like कि
Right.
गवर्नमेंट काम कैसा करता है वो ब्यूरोक्रेट्स को पता है.
Right.
Yeah. They're the ones who actually do all the hard work in that sense, right? Of when it comes to drawing up those the
Hmm.
policies uh, uh,
But also
and
the irony of the situation is that even if they don't work hard, once they
hmm,
crack the exam, even if they don't work hard, nobody can do
it's okay.
anything to them. It's
Hmm.
okay, like
Hmm.
they can get transferred wherever. um,
Yeah.
Three
But
things
that too
can
within
happen to you.
within the cadre, right?
But yeah, three things can happen to you when you are a bureaucrat. There's this guy called Ashok Khemka. You guys should
Yeah.
look him
Yeah.
up.
Okay.
Yeah.
In his 20 years of no 30 years of service, he has been transferred 56 times. 56, right?
Hmm.
Like,
Hmm.
literally 6 months के बाद उसका ट्रांसफर हो जाता है.
Hmm.
The reason why is because in 2012 he refused to do a mutation for a land deal related to Robert Vadra. And since
Oh,
then he's just been like
uh,
shuffled
uh,
around in the Haryana cadre, as
right.
Anand pointed out. Uh,
Hmm.
what
So,
what
what's a cadre? I mean, as
so
in this context.
No, so
so
you
this,
so once you get selected, you choose the, you give a list of states. So
Okay.
say you're from Maharashtra, for instance.
Right.
Then you will give your first preference as Maharashtra.
Okay.
So if you get the Maharashtra cadre, you'll be posted within Maharashtra. Then
Okay.
of course you are eligible for a central deputation at some point and all that.
Right.
But but yeah, so that's what it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
And
so you
the
give a
cadre,
priority list
sorry,
essentially.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. The cadre also
Uh,
reminds me that a lot of people on central deputation these days come from a particular state, on the western coast of
of
India.
course, of course.
Yeah.
Uh,
So,
no, but
Are you talking
that's the
about
thing,
Gujarat?
right? You know,
who else?
Okay. I was like, you're talking about Gujarat, right?
yeah.
Just clarifying it. Yeah.
No,
Sorry,
but
Mega.
that's what,
You're
no,
saying?
like three things can happen to you. One, you're
Uh,
an extremely honest officer who does all the things by the book, but the
hmm,
politicians don't like you, so
hmm,
you get transferred.
hmm,
Second is you're extremely incompetent,
hmm,
and you basically just don't do much,
hmm,
and still you get transferred, I guess,
hmm,
based
hmm,
on your usefulness.
hmm.
Third is you get super close to a politician at the
Right.
beginning of their career, and
Yeah.
as they grow you become a part of their luggage, so
Hmm,
wherever they
hmm,
go they take you with them,
hmm,
and
hmm.
then
Yeah,
वैसे ही तो national deputation मिलता है फिर.
Correct.
bilkul.
Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
you bet on a racehorse basically right
Hmm,
at the
Hmm.
beginning of your career,
hmm,
help a politician grow from place to place to place.
hmm.
Chandi,
Set.
chandi.
uh, is there a age limit at which you have to stop giving the exam, Aditya?
33, right?
Yeah,
If I'm
yeah.
not wrong.
Also, there's a the number of attempts you can do. So if you're
Okay.
in the general
Hmm.
category, you can do it like 4 times, and
Okay.
if you're uh, in the
Reserve
SC,
category,
yeah,
so
then
yeah.
you can do it some 6 times, and
Okay.
hmm.
there's so on and so forth.
Hmm,
And yeah, I mean, there are also stories from this you know like all the reports that have coming out this week of girls being in the top 4, which is no surprise, and I'm really
hmm,
happy. Also you have these stories of uh, some people who've not got who've got a made it, but they want to better their rank, so they want to sit again. Mm.
okay.
So there are a lot of
Hmm,
them.
Oh yes, that is
Yeah,
actually. I know someone who did this. It's the most bizarre thing. Like they
yeah,
wanted an IFS, Indian Foreign Services. So that's,
yeah.
I think, the top ranked. Matlab, like most people want an IFS, if I'm not
Yeah,
wrong.
I see. I think all it's what your interest lies in, right? I mean, if you're interested in deciding what India's foreign policy should be, you want to like have a role there,
hmm.
then you want to like get into IFS. If you want to,
Or you want to become a diplomat, then that is a good
huh,
way to. Hmm,
correct.
hmm,
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you get selected for foreign services, of course, then you will
hmm,
eventually, uh, perhaps, I mean, yeah, you will
hmm,
become an ambassador or
hmm, hmm, hmm.
Exactly. I was
yeah.
about to ask that. These are the people who then become
Yes,
ambassadors to
yes,
other
Yeah,
yes,
countries.
yeah,
yeah.
Right. Okay.
And some of them later, post retirement, even become ministers. And
Oh, okay.
yeah,
you've seen some of them.
yeah.
Yeah. So,
Our current external affairs minister being
oh
did
yeah,
that.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah.
Him. Even Hardeep Singh
S.
Puri.
Jaishankar, Hardeep Singh Puri.
Yeah.
We had many officers right now in Parliament,
Hmm.
Hmm.
or matlab
Hmm.
in the cabinet.
What's your take on bureaucrats becoming politicians?
Ex-
Why I'm asking you this is from a from a point that they've studied so much.
yeah,
बाकी पॉलिटिशियंस ने इतने पढ़ाई नहीं की है ना, मतलब जरूरी नहीं है उनको. So
I
yeah,
feel like
so hmm,
I feel like I would rather have a bureaucrat politician than a normal politician. I mean, to be honest, like these are the people who have been around. They understand the system very, very well. They understand how government functions very well. So they're
hmm,
actually well suited to become politicians in a way, like to lead
yeah,
people. Also, I was
yeah,
thinking of this whole district collector phenomenon, right?
Hmm.
If you're a very good district collector in a particularly like a downtrodden area or something, and you're posted there and you actually make a change, right? You become a face
hmm,
in that area where you are seen as the direct contact to the government. Of course there are the political leaders, उनके direction से काम कर रहे हो, but actually delivery आप ही कर रहे हो as a district
Hmm.
collector, as a bureaucrat, as whatever. So you
Hmm.
gain a lot of public faith,
Right.
So in a way, you're also setting up a base which is lucrative
Mhm.
to exploit later for what purposes, right? So
Hmm.
it's actually a logical sort of trajectory, according to me. I know a lot of
Hmm.
people who got into the UPSC to become politicians. Finally,
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
know, I know they have political ambitions, and they're like, no, we'll go through this route, which is an
Can I
actually legit
can I
route.
can I give my take on that?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
for me, it's the other thing, Meghnad. For me, it's like, okay, you've been a bureaucrat, you know the ins and outs of the world, you have worldly knowledge, you can differentiate right from wrong. But now that you've become a politician, you will always toe the line of the party, the ideology of the party, right? In spite of knowing maybe it's not the best for the people. So then for me, it's like, oh, आप purposely सही चीज जानते हुए भी नहीं करोगे because you have to toe the party line. So for
Hmm.
me, I don't know, that's more of a uh, conflict, not conflict of interest, but more of a betrayal of that knowledge than.
But that you have been doing your entire life, though, as a bureaucrat, you have to
Yeah.
realize. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, when you're a bureaucrat, you're also taking
Hmm.
orders from the political
But
masters.
in that, then it's like it's your job to do that, right? I
Here
don't know if I'm.
again, it is your job to do that.
Yeah.
Like,
But
that's the thing.
but also, today we are at a we live at a time where everything is about management now, है ना?
Hmm.
मतलब it's all about perception. It's about so like you said, the party,
Hmm.
the party को भी पता है कि this is all like humbug, ये सब, this
Hmm.
is all rubbish,
Right.
but this is what we have to say,
It's a
you know
narrative.
it's a narrative.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's a
Hmm.
narrative. So they वो सब वही है, like parrots, they will just उसी को वो करते हैं, दोहराते हैं
Okay.
और कुछ नहीं.
Okay, if I can just use an example to make the point that I was making. Let's say, for example, so I work in a podcasting company, right? Now, if my boss tells me you have to work on a show which is business related. Now, I may not be the most business enthusiast of people, but because it's my job to do the business related show, I will work hardest to make the best business show. But if I was given the reins to do my own show, I will not do a business show because it's my
Hmm.
what do you call it, take on that.
Interest area. Hmm.
So yeah, interest area.
But what if your producer shows you statistics that business show करो, ad मिलेगा और वहीं से revenue generate होगा,
तो
what will
फिर
you
मैं
do?
करूंगा बिजनेस शो और
हाँ,
क्या?
फिर एक segment तो रहेगा ही तेरे, I mean, so that is the kind
Wow,
of
you
thing. So
just shat on my example in a second, Aditya. Thanks.
But think about it
Sorry.
this way, right? If you are thinking of, let's say, state cadres, right? Like,
Hmm.
let's say that you're a normal bureaucrat mid-career who is working on in as a district collector in one district, right? And
Hmm.
your special interest, like just like your podcast, is, let's say,
Hmm.
Swachh Bharat Abhiyan.
Hmm.
I will build more toilets. I will
Hmm.
make my district open defecation free.
Hmm.
That
Hmm.
is your agenda. That is your
Right.
expertise. That is what you have done, right? Whatever.
Hmm.
Now, suddenly, like, you get transferred to, like,
Hmm.
you from state cadre, you go to like some ministry
Hmm.
in the let's say Delhi, right?
Hmm.
You get picked up from there.
Hmm.
Now, what if you go to the aviation ministry?
Hmm.
I mean, technically, you should be in the the rural development ministry
Correct.
or the urban development ministry because your expertise is in that area, right?
Hmm.
But now you are in the aviation ministry, right?
Hmm.
Most people will take that, right? Most people will take that deputation because, again, it's a central deputation and you get more perks, you're more senior, do a lot of things. So that can happen anyway. Again, it's a job, right?
Hmm.
For a bureaucrat, I feel like these moments must be coming a lot. So they
Hmm.
become very generalists in general.
Hmm.
Even the UPSC exams, if you see the pattern,
Mhm.
you can study philosophy, history,
Yeah.
you can
yeah.
give papers on that. Why are you using philosophy or history if you're like open defecation free karna hai, right? I
Hmm.
mean,
Hmm.
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 makes no sense. But at
Yeah.
the same time,
Right.
the whole system is trying to make you a more of a generalist
Correct.
where you're able to do a lot of more things. What you're an expert in is sort of getting things done in the government rather than
Correct.
what you are doing. So, like
Uh-huh.
in your example, Abbas, it would be like your job is to make a podcast. Doesn't
Mhm.
matter what podcast it is. You have to
Correct.
figure out a system to do it anyway.
Yeah.
It's the same thing, I
Okay.
guess.
Got it. Hmm.
Yeah.
Got it.
No,
Got it.
I know. I mean, just to back what Meghnad said with an example,
Hmm.
the former managing director of the Bangalore Metro Rail Corporation
Hmm.
got a deputation,
Hmm.
and the next thing we knew was he was the civil aviation secretary. So yeah,
Hmm.
from the metro, he moved to the whole airline thing.
Correct.
Yeah, from one metro, one city metro line, he moved to the entire India's
Hmm.
aviation
Hmm.
thing.
Hmm.
Okay.
And the other thing, from that history and from the subjects part of it, uh, yeah, history,
Hmm.
they follow the NCERT wali, the
Hmm.
syllabus.
Hmm.
And yeah, so that the interesting thing there is the Mughal part
Hmm.
being deleted. So
So do they have a say in what gets selected as the syllabus?
no.
Okay.
No, these are the guys who are later doing that, na,
Okay.
on directions of their political bosses. They are the
Yeah.
ones who draft it and say, no, 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 ये इसको हटा दो.
Huh.
So yeah,
Got it.
यहाँ पे
Okay.
उसी के पढ़ाई कर रहे हैं. The other thing is about the cadre only.
Huh.
Which is your best cadre, Meghnad? My best cadre is that Agmut cadre. You know why?
What is that?
अरे वो अरुणाचल प्रदेश, गोवा,
Oh,
यूटी केडर, बिकॉज यू गेट टू इट्स अ बेस्ट यार. कभी दिल्ली में रहो, दिल्ली में मतलब वो पोल्यूशन ज्यादा हो गया, ठंड ज्यादा हो गई, गोवा चले जाओ. हैं, मतलब गोवा में ज्यादा ये हो गया तो नॉर्थ ईस्ट. मतलब सही केडर है बॉस.
so
हैं,
you're
घूमने
just
मिलता
asking
है.
me. You're just asking me which state do you want to live in as a bureaucrat, essentially.
हाँ.
Like so.
या.
Goa is not bad, to be honest. I mean,
या, नॉट टू
not
बैड.
bad.
या.
Hmm.
But
Okay.
I would pick like, let's say, I don't know.
वो
Hmm,
ये भी आते हैं उसमें, द आइलैंड्स.
Meghalaya,
हाँ, मेघालय.
Meghalaya.
Hmm.
ब्यूटीफुल. या.
Okay. Cool. Thanks for that input, Aditya. I think we've learned a lot about UPSC bureaucrats and UPSC exams today.
Yeah.
We'll take a short break at this point. When we come back, we'll do the last story for the week, which is by me. So we'll see you on the other side of this break.
Hi, this is Cyrus Rogan Brocha, प्यार से Rogues. I've come up with a brand new idea. It's a premium product called Club Cyrus Says. It's an offer open just for you. Let me tell you about the product. We've got exclusive Cock and Bull episodes just for you. That's right, just for you. That means others don't get to see it. Also, you get exclusive footage, extra bits, the uncut version of the interviews with celebrities. And these are huge celebrities, not small-time celebrities. Only the big guys come on the show. So you'll get the exclusive bits that nobody else gets. The extra tidbits, special stuff, uncensored stuff you don't want to put out. That's just for you. And for our audio listeners, you get special ad-free content and early access to interviews and sessions and podcasts which nobody else will get. You'll get it first. You're the first people. You're Neil Armstrong. You're Edmund Hillary. You're whoever discovered India. You're that. And by becoming an exclusive member of Club Cyrus Says, you get the power. We transfer the power to you and you become the producers and you will decide what content or what happens on that show. You are the masters and we can't use words like that. People who work for the masters, basically. So guys, get in. Special audio features include, I forget. I can't remember what the
And we're back on page 10 with Aditya and Meghnad. And let's do the last story that we have this week. So, I'm going to be talking about the recently concluded Cannes Film Festival, which made news for a lot of things. We'll get to that. But I want to give like a general overview of the festival and speak about some films that made a lot of buzz. So, this was the 76th edition of the festival. Uh, the big award ceremony happened over the weekend when the festival concluded. The jury this year was being headed by Robert Ostlund, who is a filmmaker who's won the Palme d'Or, which is the biggest award given at the Cannes Film Festival, the previous 2 years. So he's filmed The Square, and another one of his films, Triangle of Sadness, had won the award last 2 years. So this time he was heading the jury. uh, this year, the most number of women directed films were nominated in its 76-year-old history. The Palme d'Or was won by a film called Anatomy of a Fall, which is a legal drama about the guilt of a novelist, whether she did it or not, which is about killing her husband did she do it, did she not, and the guilt surrounding it. So this was Anatomy of a Fall was directed by a woman. Her name is Justine Triet, and she's only the third woman to have won Palme d'Or in the 76-year history of the festival. A couple of two other films that made a lot of buzz in the festival, which I'll be looking forward to, and I recommend people who listening to this and watching it should also look out for. The first one was called The Zone of Interest. This film was based on a novel by Martin Amis, who coincidentally passed away while the festival was going on. And the premise of the film is very interesting. It's about a Nazi officer who wants to settle down in a piece of land, a very peaceful and lush piece of land with his family. But the thing is, the piece of land happens to be a stone's throw away from the Auschwitz concentration camp. So
Oh,
basically, the film does not show any of the horrors that are happening there, but the whole banality of evil thing where Nazi officers had their own aspirations and went about their everyday life while the horrors were happening in the background. So it's
just like
got
a bureaucrat.
You got it.
so no comment on that. So it's won almost universal acclaim across the board. There was no negative review. So Zone of Interest, I think it's a film. It's directed by a guy called Jonathan Glazer. So I'll be looking out for that. Another film which was very hyped and got a 9 minute standing ovation was Martin Scorsese's new film. It's called Killers of the Flower Moon. It's his
Hmm.
longest film at 3 hours 26 minutes. It stars Leonardo DiCaprio, Robert De Niro, a new actress called Lily Gladstone, who's got a lot of acclaim. Brendan Fraser, Jesse Plemons also star. So the plot of the film is loosely based on a 1920s Oklahoma incident where there were a series of killings of members of the Osage tribe, which is a Native American tribe, and an FBI investigator went to investigate this, played by Leonardo DiCaprio. And through this case, the film has tried to make a case about the atrocities which were done on Native Americans by the white people back in the 20s. So these were the three buzzy films from from world cinema. There were four Indian films which were screened. The most attention was given to Anurag Kashyap's Kennedy, which was a
Hmm.
neo noir thriller starring Rahul Bhatt and Sunny Leon. There was also a film called Agra, directed by Kanu Behel, who made Titli a few years ago, which is about a repressed male sexuality. There's a film called Ishanu, which is a remastered Manipuri film from 1990, which was remastered by the Film Heritage Foundation and screened at the festival. It is directed by Aribam Shyama Sharma, and an FTII film called Nehemich, which is directed by Yudhajit Basu, which is a story of a girl who's banished to a hut because she's on her periods and she wants to
Hmm.
elope with her boyfriend. And the whole film is set against the backdrop of COVID 19.
Oh.
So these were the four films that were Indian films which were screened there. But the thing that made the most amount of news was there were a lot of Instagram influencers from India who were seen on the red carpet and giving interviews who had nothing to do with cinema, but they were there. The most talked about the most talked about of whom was of course Ranveer Allahabadia, who was at the red carpet. There was also Kusha Kapila, Masoom Minawala, Dolly Singh, Niharika NM. I don't even know many of these people, I'm sorry. Deepu Bullar Khosla and Aman Gupta, the CEO of Boat, who
Hmm.
I was told that Boat kind of sponsored most of these influencers who had gone to Cannes. So I wanted to get a take from you guys. There's a lot of criticism saying why were these people there because they have nothing to do with cinema,
Yeah.
and why were they being interviewed along with these very renowned filmmakers and actors and actresses? Do you have a take on this, Meghnad? And then I'll give you my take on it once you both tell me yours.
I'm I'm not sure what to think of Cannes food festival, नहीं था, film festival.
Film.
film
I'm sure the
festivals.
food is good there, but yeah.
Yeah. So before you told me all this,
Huh,
Abbas, like
huh,
all the things you told me about
mm,
the movies
mm.
that I should watch,
Yeah.
very interesting, right? I did not know about this. This is what I
Okay.
wanted, right?
Okay.
But at the same time, this is not
Mm.
what I got, like from because of the influencers, right? Which is
Right.
like Ranveer Alabadia, who runs
Mm,
India's quote unquote smartest podcast,
mm,
is
mm.
a person who will not be interested in any of this. Maybe
Correct.
the
Yeah.
Hitler based, the Nazi based movie, but I mean, क्या ही बोलेगा वो? Like he was talking about like his habits and whatever. कितना अच्छा लग रहा है मेरे को फ्रांस में, whatever, right? So I saw a bunch of these quote unquote interviews,
Mm,
red carpet slash whatever, film
mm,
companion ka ya whatever
mm,
they were also
mm,
doing interviews.
mm,
I got nothing insightful about the festival itself, which
mm,
is tragic. You know, like for example, if Abbas, you were the influencer who went there,
mm, mm.
and you spoke about all these movies that you
Yes.
saw and why you
Yes.
should watch them, I
Mm.
would say, great job, influencer.
Yeah.
Well done. You have done your job as an influencer to tell me more about the festival.
Yeah.
That is not what I got from this. So I think
Mm,
it's a bit pointless. That's what I think. Also, the other thing that these influencers one person I've been following very closely is Sucharita.
mm.
Sucharita Tyagi was in Cannes, and
Yeah.
she was doing great commentary on what is
Correct.
happening,
Mm,
what are the films she's seeing, what are
mm,
the
mm,
people she's meeting, all
mm,
the things, right?
mm,
Which is great, which is what I want. She gave me a feel of the festival, etc.
mm, mm,
Others were not doing that, right?
mm.
Because she's so much into films, she knows, she understands the art of filmmaking. I
Yeah.
feel she was focusing more on that. So she's also, in my eyes, a certain kind of influencer. I
Right.
think taking people like her makes more
Absolutely.
sense
Yeah. So
than
Charita
taking
was
someone
also,
like
yeah, she was also like had a legit film critic badge with her. Like, so she was also
precisely,
let into the festival as a film critic. Yeah.
precisely.
But like, I'm not trying to make an argument for them, but do you think this is the golden age of PR slash Instagram fame, where whatever the buzziest place is, the Instagram influencer has to be there, like it works for their brand.
Oh yes. Also, I have to say something about this word influencer. Okay,
Yes.
so I've been doing a few videos on Instagram, right?
Mm,
Um, and like I'm now doing like this parliament thing that I just told you.
mhm,
I made a reel on it, which was like
mm,
75 seconds long,
mm.
and it has gone
So
nuts. Like it has
in
gone
case you don't want
crazy.
to watch the 25-minute version that we did,
Yeah, go
watch
watch
the
the
reel.
80 second. Or you can read my post on Twitter, which is long, or if you prefer the written word, I please all audiences now,
Right.
as you know. So, uh, but what I'm trying to say is that this whole so someone DM'd me, was like, oh, ban gaya influencer Instagram ka.
Mm,
I started thinking about this word influencer now that you're talking about it, right? It's such
right.
a loaded term,
Mm,
right? Influencer to me is someone who is manipulating you, who is
mm,
telling you what to think about a certain thing, and then
mm,
selling you things, or selling you themselves, or selling you a lifestyle, or selling
mm,
you late stage capitalism, basically.
mm, mm,
um, Either way. So
mm,
it's like it's a very negative loaded term, where
mm.
it's like your audiences don't have brains of their own, so they are telling you what to think, they're influencing you,
Right.
and therefore you are there. Now
Mm,
this is what doesn't make sense to me when you compare it with what happened at Cannes,
mm, mm,
right?
mm.
What is this influencer trying to tell me? That I'm
Correct.
missing out by
Mm.
being not being there?
Not being there.
Like,
Mm,
should I go there? What will I get there? Is
mm,
Should I aspire to be at Cannes next year? Is
mm.
that what I'm going to do now? So that's something worth thinking about, and just
Mm.
random.
Okay. Aditya, you have any
Well,
takes?
I completely agree with Meghna that it's a very heavy term. The word influencer itself is very heavy, and the
Right.
way he was saying it, I could actually feel that this in it. But I mean, I must I must tell you that I have over a period of time, over different things and assignments that I've done, I have worked with some of these influencers, not the ones that you named, of
Right.
course.
Right.
I haven't heard of some of them,
Okay.
but no. So I have. So okay, but uh, in the context of Khan, I really don't understand
No,
what they're
let's
doing.
go back to you working with some of them. What was your experience like?
well, I don't understand what they're doing honestly, but but they're making money, and the client wants them,
Right.
and of course unmo mein bhi ek, matlab, there's a rate card, which of
Of
course you
course.
guys know,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and also there are like there are types of influencers, right? Now they are
Of
all
course.
they now it's become a very structured
Industry.
industry. Yeah,
Mm,
they're in
mm.
different categories and all that. But yeah, I mean, see, they're drawing they have their followers, right? And at the end of the day, the client sees some kind of a conversion
Mm.
uh, for the product, but that is about a product, and I don't think Khan is a product, and Khan can't be, or shouldn't be, to my mind, uh, sold like that. And why so? I mean, for me, Khan itself is a big influencer. I will, like, listening to you, I will go and uh, look out those movies and
Correct.
stuff. or
Mm-hmm.
or I have friends who are covering the festival as serious, you know uh, what do you say,
Critics and
critics.
journalists.
Yeah. Yes.
Mm.
So I mean, I don't need these influencers,
Mm.
so I don't see how they are a fitment here, honestly.
Correct. So I have a take on that. So
Hmm.
the interesting way to do this was, which an Australian company did. So there's this comedian, I forget her name, but she's quite. She also does the same thing, makes funny reels and Instagram videos and stuff. So she was sent to Cannes, but what she did was she was interviewing these actors and directors, but she
Hmm.
was doing it in her own funny way.
Mhm.
So both your purposes are served. You're getting your, so the idea, I
Yeah.
think, of sending these people was to get the more younger crowd to get to know about the festival.
Hmm. Okay.
So I think that was a very cleverly done thing, where she's
Hmm.
doing her funny thing, getting her content, and also featuring the filmmakers and actors, and उसके साथ साथ festival का भी promotion हो रहा है.
Hmm.
I forgot to add,
Do you
actually.
think? Do you think,
Yeah.
Abbas, there's a war happening between Cannes Food Festival and Food Festival? Cannes
But
Film
it is
Festival.
lunchtime, yes.
Like,
Yeah.
sorry, Cannes Film Festival and Oscars.
Not
Is there a
really,
war happening now?
to get younger people.
I mean,
Oh,
think
for
about
sure.
it. Both
I
awards,
think I think the
both.
Oscars. That's true. The Oscars want younger people way more than Cannes, because the Oscar award is a televised event and their
Yeah.
ratings have been falling year after year. Whereas
Mhm.
Cannes still has a very steady French cinephile audience which tunes in every year or attends every year.
They might be transitioning into more like mainstream, like sort
That's
of.
possible, yeah. I didn't mention it here, but the new Indiana Jones film was also screened and it got panned
Oh,
critically,
of
because
course,
this was
because
all
it's a
these
bad
were all
movie.
cinephiles
Yeah.
over there.
Yeah.
So yeah, but the director who won the Palme d'Or, Justine Triet, in her winning speech, she mentioned the pension protests that have been happening in France.
Hmm.
Even though the Cannes festival had categorically mentioned there should be no mention of the protests, but in her
Ah,
victory speech she still mentioned it. So that's what other countries are doing with the with the power that they have when they get a
yeah.
platform. So
But
yeah.
the influencer thing, now that I rethink about it,
Mm.
also because I'm offended by Aditya saying, "What do they even do?" Uh, they sell you products, Aditya. They sell you
No,
things.
yeah,
It's
we,
like
I
we run ad senator. ये वाला meme हो गया.
no, but like just think about it. Like I was just talking to Cyrus, right? Cyrus
Yeah.
was with us on this understanding advertising
Mm, mm,
episode, right? He
mm.
was making a point that, listen, in the 90s and whatever, television से ही हमको ad मिलता था. We would
Correct.
remember, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
Vimal, only Vimal, whatever.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Now, for the younger Gen Zs and Gen Xs and even millennials to a certain extent,
Mm, mm.
I remember reels, man. I genuinely remember reels. Some of the
Hmm.
reels that I've seen in the last like months, some of them have stuck with me, right? So that influencer in a way is stuck with me. And
But
if they happen to be selling a product,
have you ever
then
bought a product that was being sold
on
to you on Instagram?
Instagram,
But through a
heads
reel?
through a reel, earphones I have, but I have bought it when there's this website called Headphone Zone.
Mhm.
They have an
Yeah,
Instagram page, and they
yeah,
keep doing like unboxing videos. So these
correct.
headphones I've bought from them,
Got
and
it.
they have influenced me honestly.
Yeah, yeah,
Like, but
sure.
they're like not influencers, right? They're
Got it, got it.
salesmen.
Yeah.
Correct.
So
they're actually using the platform in a way to actually sell the product that they
It's
they
like a
they're
marketplace for
making.
them. Yeah,
Correct.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Nikhil is saying there's an episode of ELI 10 about what is an influencer. Maybe you could plug that.
Yes, thanks, Nikhil. There is an episode on ELI 10 about what is an influencer. The very first episode we did on ELI
Oh
10,
yeah. Yes.
which was on what is an influencer. So, Aditya, take
I'm going
that.
to watch it, and you
Take,
guys should watch it
yes,
too.
Wow.
yes.
You just
No,
influencer meta moment.
and that is, I think, the episode where we discussed this Ayyo Shraddha thing that happened, where
Correct.
Ayyo
Yeah. Yeah.
Shraddha
Yeah.
went to meet the Prime Minister or something. I
Ah,
think we have
Correct.
discussed
Correct.
it in
Yeah. Yeah.
page 10 also,
Page
about
10
why
also.
is an
Yeah. Yeah.
influencer doing that. And
Hmm.
there I supported her
Hmm.
because it was audience sharing. Modi ji ka audience
Hmm.
inke paas aa raha hai, inka audience Modi ji ke paas ja raha hai.
Hmm.
Same
Hmm.
thing. I mean, and now here the Khan ka audience is going to influencer, influencer ka audience is coming to Khan. I
Hmm.
guess it's the same thing now.
yeah, but the point I was trying to make is that Khan is such a is an established platform already, right? But now I think now this discussion, kind of gives me that insight of
We've all influenced each other today,
yeah, I
Aditya.
think
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I think
I
it is
mean,
more
Khan ko,
beneficial to the influencers you named
yeah.
to be there.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, yeah,
Khan
I mean,
doesn't
at
need them.
some
yeah. Khan
point,
doesn't need them. Yeah,
Yeah.
at
Sorry,
some
Meghnad?
point, this whole, I know, at some point, this whole Khan being an institution of excellence and all that stuff
हाँ,
is
हाँ.
fine. But तुमको mainstream जाके ही पैसा मिलेगा ना फेस्टिवल
Exactly,
वालों
yeah.
को. So like
Yeah,
mainstream
young
तो होना
people
पड़ेगा.
don't give a shit about establishment. They
Exactly.
want.
Precisely. ये सब filmy people like all these Abbas type go there. इनसे क्या पता चलता है? ये थोड़ी influencer है. Like अभी बता रहा है हमको ये.
हाँ, अभी 4 मूवीज के नाम बताए उसने.
Exactly.
Uh,
कुशा
well,
कपिला
that
को
brings
बोलो.
us.
फिर सुनेंगे आप.
Okay. I think we've influenced each other enough. It's time to call it
Yes.
a day. That brings us to the end of this week's episode. Now we're going to do the influencer thing of asking you to please like, share, subscribe this video. Subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon so that you know whenever a new episode is released. Please write into us with any feedback you have about this show or ELI 10 or How to Citizen, and we'll try and incorporate it for you. Before we wrap up, Aditya, do you want to give out your social media handles? Anything you want to plug? Please go ahead.
Yeah, you can follow me on Anand at the rate Anand Aditya on Twitter.
Okay. Meghnad?
You can follow me on Instagram. And Meghna, this is my handle. I am an inspirator now. I don't call myself an influencer anymore. I have invented a new word for myself called inspirator. Use it more, guys. This is where
Does
it
it
was coined first.
does the
I can see a
existence
halo on his head.
does the existence of an inspirator imply the existence of an expirator as well?
Oh God, no! But don't do it. You,
And
why you
if
do
you
this?
want if you want bad jokes like that, you can follow me on Twitter at Abbas Momin and on Instagram at AbbasMomin88. Thank you for joining us and watching us till the very end. We'll see you all next week with some new topics and a new panelist. Till then, bye bye.